Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to July 8th, 2025 City Council meeting. City of Greenfield, call meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor White,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez,
Here.
Councilmember Ortiz,
Here.
Councilmember Jones,
Here.
Councilmember Garcia.
Here.
Here. Proceed. Move right to invocation by Pastor Robert Mellon.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Attorney Thompson and Paul Wood and everyone else. Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you this night and we acknowledge your presence even now in this place. And we pray, Lord, that you lead and guide each council member, mayor, concerning each decision that is going to be made here tonight. We pray that your Holy Spirit would be evident here. And we acknowledge the fact that greater is he that is in us than he that is in the world. And may we, in all of our getting, may we get understanding and wisdom. We pray your blessing upon the city. Cover us with your precious blood. And Lord, we'll be sure and crown everything back to you, giving you all of the honor, all of the glory, and all of the praise. In Jesus' name, amen.
All right, will you all please stand for the pledge? Ready, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Agenda review?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull consent calendar item I-4, which is the resolution for a recess in August.
Okay.
We're
Very
gonna,
good.
might come back to that at the next meeting.
Okay, very good. We'll move to public comments from the audience regarding items not on the agenda. This portion of the agenda allows the individual the opportunity to address the council on items not on closed session, consent calendar, public hearings, and city council business. Under state regulations, no action can be taken on non-agenda items, including issues raised under this agenda item. Members of the public should be aware of this when addressing council regarding items not specifically referenced on this agenda. Do we have any public comments for items not on the agenda?
Good evening, everyone.
Name is Ernest Gallardo. I reside at 212 San Antonio Drive. The only thing I'd like to bring up right now is there's a city code that prohibits stores from having more than 10% of their windows covered. If you go down El Camino Real, some of the stores down there have as much as 85, 90% of the windows are covered. Why isn't that being enforced? I mean, that's the code is there in case something nefarious is going inside the store, people can actually see in there. But like I said, you can go down ECR and most of the stores, anywhere from 50 up to 90% of the windows are covered. So I'd like to see that get enforced. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? If your item is not on the agenda, if you're talking about something that's on here, then no, but if it's, okay. All right.
Marquitas. I want to know why that fireworks are still going off in this town and nothing's getting done. I mean, these is blast. Because right, the guy right across the street, man, he just kept firing them off and firing them off. I got a little PTSD, and my dog, he curls up and he's going crazy. So we got to stop this somehow. I don't know how. We need to stop the fireworks. They got fireworks here legally, but there's so many illegal fireworks going on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Then I'll bring it back to council for comments from council.
Nada. I want to thank our public workers who are out clearing all the dry brush around. I mean, it's a hazard just to be out in the wind and the dust blowing. But they're out there and they've got their masks and their glasses and all. So I appreciate them being out there, helping us control any fire hazards. And I really enjoyed the 4th of July and everything that went into it. I think it was well attended. And then today I went on a tour, a very nice breezy tour of our waste. Is it water waste? Wastewater, water waste. It's all, it still smells the same. So it's very eye-opening, and I encourage everyone to go out there and see our conditions that we're working with. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Please.
Good evening. I attended the fireworks show, the welcoming with Mayor and Councilmember Garcia. It was really nice. I hate to admit this, but this is the first time I've ever gone out to see the fireworks here in Greenfield. And we went back a little bit later in the evening. The music was really good. They had some band from Hollister, I think it was, on some country band. They were really good. Later on, they had a DJ. Fireworks show was really nice. They this time they lit it from the soccer field. Yeah, so it was a lot closer. And it just was a really good, everybody seemed really happy. It looks like everyone enjoyed themselves. Traffic was another matter because I don't think that we are ever going to be able to handle that amount of traffic in our city. Our roads are really small, but other than that, it was really great turnout, and that's pretty much it.
Right, Mayor Pro Tem.
I'll just echo what others set up here. Thank you to the rec department for putting on an amazing 4th of July celebration for our community. I know other people from other cities come here to our fireworks show, and all of the food stands and the vendors and the resources it's great to see our community have that kind of event to come out and spend some time with their families. And also what Councilmember Garcia said, I went along for that very informative tour of the wastewater treatment plant. So thank you, Jamie, for taking us out there. It was very eye-opening, a lot of information. And I think it is important for our community to have a better understanding of how that all works. I'm still processing. I think I'm gonna be the butt of the jokes about that place for a while because I am very much processing all of the information that was shared. And it's vital to all of our residents, to our livelihoods every day, to know what happens there and understand the decisions that the city makes and why we make them. And now I'm getting into other stuff now, but really informative and great tour. And I look forward to sharing more about that, you know, with our residents as time goes on.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I have a few things tonight. I just want to announce that Blue Zone walks are back. They started today. Unfortunately, I couldn't make today's, but every Tuesday at 9 o'clock from the gazebo. So anyone interested in that, it's all ages. We walk for about 45 minutes. Great exercise, great social time. So please join us. The 4th of July, I want to thank Councilwoman Garcia and Councilwoman Ortiz for showing up and joining me at the event. I appreciate your support. All the departments, great job. Recreation for organizing, police, fire, public works for all the park just looked tremendous. So showed us off really well for all those people that were visiting us as well as our residents. So showed a lot of pride, a lot of civic pride. Reminder, the senior socials tomorrow at 11 o'clock. City of Greenfield, along with Meals on Wheels, is organizing the event. So please come out if you're over 60 or over and join us. It's a great time. We also did a wastewater tour again yesterday. That's my second time out there. It's very informative. Got to understand a lot about what was going on there and to see how things have changed over the last year or so since I was out there. So thank you, Jamie, for taking us out there. And also the last thing I want to announce that the next meeting on July 22nd, I'm not going to be here. I have a family wedding to go to. So I'd like to ask to please excuse me for that one. And that's all I have. All right, we'll move on to the consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar are considered routine and may be approved by one action of the city council unless the request for removal for discussion or explanation is received prior to the time council votes on the motion to adopt. Are there any public comments on the consent calendar? Seeing none, do we need anything pulled, anything up for discussion? It's item I1 through I3. We did take off I4.
I think I would just like to clarify on the minutes from the last meeting on the item about the flag display. Because it says it was to bring it back for further direction. But if we could just update that to say for a new resolution presenting it for it to be flown in June moving forward. And that was it.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion on the consent calendar.
Move to approve.
You need a second?
Second.
Moved in second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Thank you very much. J, mayor's presentations, proclamations, communication, and resolutions. Presentation by Alliance on Aging.
Good evening, everyone. We have a PowerPoint as well. Oh.
Is that turned on? And units? Yeah. Okay.
Mayor White and members of the City Council for this opportunity to present our local aging and disability action plan also known as LADAP. My name is Steve Macias. I serve as the Executive Director for the Blind Center for Monterey County. I also chair the Mobility Advisory Committee for Monterey County Transit, and Vice Chair of the Measure Oversight Committee, and was also recently reappointed by the County Board of Supervisors to serve on the Commission on Disabilities. I'm also a resident of Great Falls. So in August of 2023, Alliance on Aging was awarded a grant by the California Department of Aging to create a local model of California Master Plan on Aging. The LADAP is a community-driven, multi-sector plan that builds on the work that has already been done for many decades in our local community. So the project area for LADAP focused primarily on rural and agricultural areas of North and South Monterey County, and of course, the greater Salinas area. So the domains of livability, AARP identified 8 domains of livability: housing, outdoor spaces and buildings, transportation, civic participation and employment, communication and information, social participation, and health services and community supports. Alliance on Aging adapted AARP's 8 domains, embedding respect and social inclusion across all domains and adding disaster preparedness and services. The planning process and recommendation utilize these domains as the framework for the action plan. So the process began with convening an advisory council with representatives from 37 organizations and 15 community members from the project area. They provided support at every stage and level of this process and were vital to create the plan. They participated in a total of 45 meetings and will continue to meet in the implementation stage. Next, we completed an assessment inventory of local resources, which included presentations to the advisory council from 39 local organizations representing multiple sectors. We conducted a community assessment in English and Spanish from March to June of 2024, facilitated by Applied Survey Research. 397 individuals completed the survey. In addition, 42 people completed a stakeholder survey. From October of 2024 through January of this year, 8 community forums called Solution Summits were conducted in Spanish and English in Gonzales, Soledad, Greenfield, King City, Salinas, Castroville, and Prunedale. 232 community members participated, of which 191 were Hispanic and 222 were over the age of 60. In February of this year, the advisory group was convened to select priority recommendations for the action plan based on the results of the survey and the Solution Summit. They broke up into domains and were asked to identify at least one priority goal fleshed out to identify additional key recommendations. Last month, Monterey County was awarded its official designation as a member of the National AARP Network Age-Friendly Cities and States. This was based on our LADAP work to date and our rich local history of fostering age and disability-friendly communities. As a culmination of this community-driven work, we provide you with the LADAP Action Plan, which is a comprehensive guide with background, data, priority, action recommendations. I provided earlier a hard copy in both English and Spanish. All the recommendations by domain are included as well. In the interest of time, I'll just summarize one priority in each domain. So with civic participation, it's to establish a community-based group that reflects the diversity of each project area to spearhead increased interaction and communication with city council representatives. Employment, create and distribute a resource list or guide for older adults and individuals with disabilities so that they have access to information related to employment, education, training, and volunteer resources. Communication and information, develop a communication strategy that increases awareness, understanding, and access to service. resources, and benefits that impact the lives of diverse older adults, people with disabilities, family members, and caregivers, focusing on the rural areas. Next, disaster preparedness and services. By December of this year, we plan to develop a communication strategy for disaster preparedness and response pertaining to the aging and disability populations, with language, learning style, and of course, grade level considerations. Health services, improve wait times and transportation access to healthcare specialists in rural areas for older adults and people with disabilities, starting in South Monterey County. And for community supports, continue mobile models like the SOCOS that is taking place here in Greenfield tomorrow in our rural communities to positively impact isolation, access to resources, nutrition, health, wellness, and overall quality of life for older adults, including their caregivers and people with disabilities. Housing, to address the needs for affordable housing for older adults and people with disabilities, promote the option of creating accessory dwelling units, ADUs, for older adult homeowners, family members, caregivers, and prospective tenants. And outdoor spaces, to improve accessibility and safety for older adults and people with disabilities via sidewalk and traffic control repairs and improvements, starting with the city of Salinas to model this process for other areas. Social participation, increase senior programming activities, social activities, walking, exercise, education. And finally, transportation, to improve community members' transportation access to healthcare visits through education and collaboration with local healthcare providers and community support organizations in rural areas of Monterey County, including both North and South County. So the overall theme of the LDAP is really to increase access to resources and services, particularly in the rural areas, communication that addresses diverse communities, collaboration across sectors, maximizing resources, and civic and social engagement opportunities. And so, the city's leadership role in the implementation of the Local Aging and Disability Action Plan is to integrate the LDAP into city decisions and policies that impact the lives of older adults and people with disabilities and their families, promote and support civic participation opportunities for older adults and people with disabilities, and collaborate with senior network and other sectors in communicating information that benefits older adults and people with disabilities. Thank you. The full report is available online also at allianceonaging.org. We have on via Zoom Teresa Sullivan, who can answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Any questions from council?
Thank you. It's very informative, like very detailed and very detailed, great information though.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah,
for the booklet.
thank you for sharing this with us.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Move on to Central Coast Community Energy.
Hello, Mayor White and council members. Thank you so much for the opportunity to provide an update to you on behalf of Central Coast Community Energy. My name is Sophia Schwartzky, and I serve as the Community Relations Manager for the Northern region of Central Coast Community Energy. And I'm joined today by Colleen Courtney, who's sitting right over there, and she is one of the key account managers at Central Coast Community Energy, and will be able to work with you on any questions you have about your the city's energy bills or the programs that 3CE has to offer. I'm here to share highlights about 3CE's recent activities, programs, and ongoing efforts to support your community. But before I begin, I do want to thank Mayor White for serving on 3CE's policy board. Your leadership is greatly appreciated.
Thank you. It is a steep learning curve, by the way.
Yes, absolutely. And that's part of the reason I'm here, hopefully to spread the word a little bit. So as you may know, 3CE is the public agency that sources energy for the Central Coast. We work in partnership with PG&E, who manages the transmission and delivery of that energy to your homes and businesses. 3CE serves 30 cities across the counties of Santa Cruz, Monterey, San Benito, San Luis Obispo, and Santa Barbara. Today, 3CE provides clean and renewable energy to 1.2 million people, which is about 94% of eligible customers. 3CE is working to deliver 100% clean and renewable energy to our customers. Last year, we delivered 409 megawatts of renewable energy. And I know that number might not mean much to you, but to provide some context, that's enough energy to power more than 350,000 homes. By doing so, 3CE avoided over 445,000 metric tons of carbon dioxide emissions, which is equivalent to taking 105,000 gas-powered cars off the road for an entire year. By October of 2028, renewable energy is projected to supply 64% of 3CE's total load, which puts us well ahead of state requirements, bringing us closer to a carbon-free future. Over the next few slides, I'd like to quickly highlight why battery storage plays such a critical role in our transition to a carbon-free future. Battery storage is essential for California's energy transition, and just as importantly, to customer affordability. This is because batteries can capture renewable energy when the sun is shining and the wind is blowing, and then release it later in the day when demand is high and wind or solar power is not available. At the utility scale, they reduce fossil fuel reliance during peak hours, which lowers electricity rates. And on the residential side for customers, home batteries provide backup power and store cheap renewable energy for use during expensive peak hours. So I want to walk you through a real-world example of the value of battery storage. The graph that you have in front of you is showing Labor Day weekend of 2022, when California issued its most recent Flex Alert. This was a statewide call to reduce electricity use during a major heat wave. So you might remember getting a text message telling you to reduce your energy usage. Again, this graph shows the statewide energy mix from that day. The large red area is representing fossil fuels, which made up the largest portion of energy that day. The green is showing renewable resources like solar and wind, which peak during the day and drop off sharply at sunset. So I know it's a little hard to see, but if you look at the orange lines that are at the very bottom and the very top of that graph, you'll see batteries. So at the bottom, those batteries are charging during daylight hours. And then at the top, you'll see those batteries are discharging energy back into the grid when it's most needed. Again, that's when the wind isn't blowing and the sun isn't shining, and we want to be able to use those renewables that we stored from earlier in the day. So now we're looking at a graph of a more recent heat wave that our state experienced. This is July 4th of last year, when despite another period of extremely high energy demand, there was no need for a flex alert to prevent rolling blackouts. This graph tells the story. The green bar representing renewable energy grew taller as more solar resources came online. And the red bar representing fossil fuels became smaller. But most notably, the orange battery bar more than tripled. You'll see it's much easier to see on this graph than the last one. Batteries charged during the day and discharged power during peak evening hours, providing that critical support when the grid needed it most. So I like this graph because it more clearly demonstrates how batteries extend the usefulness of renewable energy into evening hours. So we are often asked if battery systems are safe, especially after the fire at Vistra's Moss Landing facility. So I want to start off by saying that none of the battery projects that 3CE invests in are located indoors like the Moss Landing facility was. All of the projects that we invest in are outdoors in containerized units with built-in fire suppression systems. The Moss Landing incident involved an older battery chemistry called nickel manganese cobalt. And today, all new battery systems use more stable technologies like lithium iron phosphate, which is, again, more stable and significantly less likely to catch fire. And what this chart is showing you is that since 2018, battery failures have dropped by 98%. And that's despite a 25,000% increase in the installation of this technology. So now that I've had the opportunity to review the role of battery storage in California's energy transition, I'd like to highlight some of the clean energy projects that 3CE is currently invested in. So I want to start off with the Willow Rock Energy Storage Center. This project will use compressed air to power turbines on demand and will be the largest compressed air energy storage project in the world. Once this project is completed, it will provide 200 megawatts of power to 3CE customers alone. The next project I'd like to highlight is Atlas Solar, which is also currently under development. Atlas Solar is one of the largest solar plus storage projects in North America and will provide 150 megawatts of clean energy directly to 3CE customers. Also under construction is the Aratina Solar plus Storage project, which will deliver 120 megawatts of clean renewable energy to 3CE customers, which is enough to power 90,000 homes. And finally, I'd like to highlight a project that recently came online. That would be the Victory Pass Solar plus Storage project. This project combines solar generation with battery storage to provide reliable, renewable power day or night. Of the total output, 100 megawatts of this project are reserved for 3CE customers, which is again to power 68,000 homes. Delivering renewable power is only a part of 3CE's mission. Equally important is connecting with the communities we serve. In 2024, our outreach team was active across the region, sponsoring local events, hosting webinars, and leading workshops to raise awareness on and inform our energy programs. To better meet the needs of our diverse communities, 3CE has hired additional bilingual staff, expanded our translated materials, and developed an action plan focused on serving underserved communities. We've also strengthened our partnerships with community-based organizations and our customer service line now offers support in more than 150 languages. Three CE's energy programs give customers the tools to accelerate electrification, increase renewable energy use, and save money. Our flagship program is the Electrify Your Ride program, which offers up to $4,000 towards the purchase of a new or used electric vehicle. We have other programs that help cover the cost of switching to electric home appliances and installing home battery systems, as well as providing support to the ag sector. Together, these initiatives are helping households, businesses, and farms transition to a cleaner, more sustainable energy future. Now, this slide is the piece that I am especially excited to share with you. 3CE also offers programs to member agencies like the City of Greenfield to support electrifying your fleet vehicles and installing EV chargers. These initiatives include programs that help offset the cost of replacing fleet vehicles and funding for electrification planning and the installation of EV chargers. We also have a REACH code program that supports local efforts by offering technical assistance to city staff as they create and implement energy efficiency standards. This year alone, there is over $300,000 in funding available to Greenfield through 3CE to support clean energy sustainability goals. So since 3CE was formed in 2018, nearly 7,000 customers have benefited from our programs, putting more than $11 million back into our community. Over $4 million of that support went directly to underserved community members. This slide highlights how Greenfield has taken advantage of 3CE's programs to date. So far, your community has received more than $82,000 in funding through programs like Plan Your Fleet, Electrify Your Home, and our new construction electrification program. To add some context, Soledad has received funding across a slightly broader mix of programs, which you can see up there, including ag electrification and the Electrify Your Ride program. So I just wanted to show this comparison to help illustrate the range of opportunities available through 3CE's program offerings. That is all that I have for you today. If you have any questions, my contact information is up on the screen there. And I can also share my details directly with the clerk to be passed on to you all. So I invite you to reach out to me and Colleen directly. But thank you again so much for your time this evening, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions, council? If somebody was interested in how to electrify their home or the car program, how do they go about that? Do they reach out to you directly or?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. Your constituents can always reach out to me directly. Please feel free to share my contact information. We also have our website. The link is up on the screen as well. It's 3cenergy.org. There's a tab on there for our rebates and incentives, and you can click through all of the offerings and be taken directly to the program application. We've heard that our applications are very easy to navigate, but if you ever need any assistance, they can call our customer service line and get on the phone with somebody within 15 seconds, and they'll help walk you through that application. So I'd say that's the best place to start, but anyone is always welcome to reach out to me directly.
Do you know penetration here in Greenfield? I know you said overall it's 94%. Do you have numbers for us?
Yeah, the average from all customers is 94%. I don't know the exact percentage for Greenfield off the top of my head, but I could easily find that and get that to you tomorrow.
That'd be great. Thank you. So how it works, just for people that don't know, it's the PG&E supplies the power lines and the billing. You supply the electricity for PG&E, correct?
Yes, that's
the
correct. So 3CE does the energy generation portion while PG&E continues to do the transmission and delivery. A lot of people don't realize that they are actually a 3CE customer because when Greenfield City Council decided to join 3CE, everybody who lives in Greenfield automatically became our customer, and they're benefiting from our competitive rates, programs, local control, clean energy, all that good stuff. So if you look at the first page of your PG&E bill, you'll see the 3CE line item for energy generation only. And again, you're always welcome to reach out to our customer service line and they can walk you through the bills because I know they are definitely not the most intuitive resource out there.
Anybody else? Any questions? Thank you very much, Stan.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. All right, we'll move to J3 wastewater treatment plants update.
Good evening, Mayor White and council members. I just wanted to give a brief wastewater treatment plant update. Wait for it to cycle. I don't know why it's not going full screen there. So just an overview. I'm waiting for it to
Change.
I don't know what's going on here. Like technical issue. Apologize for having some technical difficulties.
Take your time, technical difficulties.
You're not seeing the same thing I am, so. Where do we have it at? Switching laptop. Thank you for your patience. We're almost there. All right, we're back in business. Good evening again, Mayor White and council members. I just wanted to give a brief update on the wastewater treatment plant. The overview of this slideshow is going to discuss capacity, rehabilitation projects and upgrades, the temporary emergency spray fields, sludge dewatering press, our fats, oils, and grease program, otherwise known as FOG, and then looking ahead. I do want to add that this is a recent photo of the wastewater treatment plant, secondary treatment, and infiltration basin. The history of the wastewater treatment plant was originally constructed in the 1950s with upgrades throughout the years. It's located at the east end of Walnut Avenue towards the Salinas River. A new wastewater treatment plant has been designed to serve the growing needs of the community. Design plans were at 90% back in November 2024, and then we've also conducted recent upgrades. Wastewater treatment plant capacity. So pre-October of 2024, our wastewater treatment plant capacity was 1.5 million gallons a day. The water board then revised our permit to include the emergency temporary spray fields, and then also at the same time lowered our permitted capacity to 1.2 million gallons per day. The current capacity does not support current and projected community growth, and we're operated under regulatory oversight by the State Water Quality Control Board. The photo that you see is two of our rapid infiltration basins. That is a levee in between. We're required to maintain at least 2 feet of freeboard, which you can see we do not have at that moment. Rehabilitation projects and upgrades. In recent years, we've actually rehabilitated the headworks. One of the clarifiers has been rehabilitated. The digester has been rehabilitated, and our rapid infiltration basins, or otherwise known as our RIBs, have been rehabilitated all in the last few years. We removed 2 feet of septic soil from the RIB bottoms, and then that soil was placed on the levees to increase the elevation. Our emergency spray fields, we obtained approval from the state to construct approximately 16 acres of temporary emergency spray fields in October of 2024. The spray fields went online in February of 2025. The spray fields are only to be used to relieve the rapid infiltration basins and to assist in emptying the RIBs so they can be rehabilitated. The spray fields are not a measure to accept higher influent flows from future development. In this photo, you can see there's 4 areas outlined in white. Ignore the red line, please. And we have 4 different spray fields that rotate use in order to lower the RIBs. It's just a very slow process, and we're also having to work the ground out there to make sure that that infiltrates. Also, a sludge dewatering press. We did install a portable sludge dewatering press back in May of 2023. It reduces water content in biosolids. Those biosolids are then hauled and disposed of at the landfill, and it improves operational efficiency of the wastewater treatment plant. Unfortunately, still not to the needs that we need to be efficient. But it's a huge help in not having those solids go out into our secondary treatment and our polishing ponds and our RIBs. It's a great investment. Our fats, oils, and grease program, again, otherwise known as FOG, we implemented the program back in April of 2024. It's to reduce sewer blockages and overflows. It includes restaurant inspections and compliance. We've actually done 48 restaurant inspections since then. Public outreach and education. We've attended 11 events, reaching 925 residents. And there's also best management practices that come along with the FOG program, just like don't put grease down your drains, don't put butter down your drains, wait till it solidifies and put it in the trash. And then looking ahead, we're in the process and then going to complete our 2025 wastewater rate study. We're going to have continued monitoring and maintenance of the plant, continued commitment to public health. We don't want to see anything go beyond our boundaries. We have plans to add additional staffing at the wastewater treatment plant. We are looking to enter into a funding agreement with the State Department of Financial Assistance in the next 9 months for construction of our new wastewater treatment plant. The new wastewater treatment plant will evolve to meet modern treatment methods, and plans for upgrades will meet population and development growth and stricter discharge regulations. The photo to the right is an example of the type of system that we will be purchasing and installing. It's an MBR, or membrane bioreactor system, and it produces recycled water. And that is the end of my slideshow updates.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions from council? All right, I think we'll get a more detailed and extensive report here shortly, I'm sure. So,
Thank you.
J4 economic development update.
No, airline. And that the annual reports report was released out to the planning commission and is available to the public. It's the best resource that we've been able to put together. Just the totality of what the news out 22nd. Building Spain. And rivers will be here in percent. Good. Rivers, for example, will do this workshop with this day to share with the community. This is views. You know, many people are in San Lucia Square Shopping Center instead of the specific plan newer developments. Site selectors technology that is invoked today by corporations when they're choosing to select for their new development. Amazon facility, so a great example. You may recall that in the Salinas Valley, folks were competing for and hoping to We don't work. Sorry. My grandson. Same. When you need sure that you're from rivers, we move. in.
Thank you, Paul. Any questions for Paul? So that presentation will be at the council meeting on the 22nd, right? Rivers.
No, I'm sorry, it will be between 1 and 3:30 in the afternoon. Big deal was that the council is already business.
Okay, 1 to 3:30. Very good. Thank you, Paul. All right, we'll move to item K1, information discussion of potential building moratorium due to the wastewater treatment plant capacity issue. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a very important item that I want to basically just want everybody to keep in mind. This is a great example of everything that we do is connected, because you just saw a presentation from our Public Works Director, Jamie Tugel, talking about our rapidly aging wastewater treatment plant and an economic development. And he could very well have talked about community development and housing. Our Economic and Community Development Director, Paul Mugen, talking about moving forward. The constraint in every good project is driven by constraints. Our constraint is the wastewater treatment plant. And we're here today on this item to discuss the potential of a building moratorium to address the issues at the wastewater treatment plant. A building moratorium is a restriction or a partial restriction on building, in this case, due to the capacity issues that we have at the wastewater treatment plant. Wastewater treatment plant, as Jamie talked about, our maximum average daily flow was at 1.5, but because of issues that we've had with breaches and violations, the Regional Water Board has reduced that to 1.2 million gallons, which is where we are right now. And what we're finding, and she talked about the rapid infiltration basins and all the upgrades that we've made, from the headworks to the digester, to the clarifiers and the belt press. Those are all big improvements. These have been done over the past 5 or 6 years incrementally. We've had the rapid infiltration basins, and those are the basins where the water actually goes down into the groundwater. It's the last step in the processing. Those are not working so well anymore. We even went, was it 2 years ago, I think? Actually went in, and she mentioned they dug out 2 feet of bad soil, or I don't know what you want to call it.
Septic soil.
Septic soil, so that we could get cleaner percolation. And that helped for a little bit, but it didn't help for very long. And we still are having problems. They then went, Jamie went and talked to the regional board about the spray fields. Can we just have some more space that we can sprinkle this to have it percolate and other places. And that's working to a degree. It's not taking care of everything. But at this point, the number one issue related to the problems at the wastewater treatment plant is the influx of waste that goes down there. We're at capacity now, which means that if we build more, whether it's commercial or residential, we're going to have problems with being over our capacity. We're at 1.2 million gallons, and it seems like it's steady, especially summertime is real busy because we have lots of people that come into town and that work the fields. And this is our busiest time of the year. So we're here to talk about what can we do? And this item is a building moratorium. So we're going to talk, and there's 4 people that will be talking. Mostly it will be Jamie, because this is really back up one step. I'm going to put this in the context of our city strategic plan. If you recall, 4 items in our strategic plan, and they are prioritized. Number 1 priority in the strategic plan is health and safety of our community members. Number 2 priority is revenue generation, sustainable revenue generation. It seems like kind of a weird one, but it really isn't. It's we want to provide services to our community members, but we can't do that with any consistency unless we have a sustainable revenue base. It just isn't possible. Otherwise, we're offering programs and then the next year we don't have them because we don't have the revenue. So sustainable revenue generation is key, not as important as health and safety. I think you can see where this is going. The wastewater treatment plant issue is a health and safety issue. It is our number 1 priority as defined by our strategic plan. But the revenue generation is clearly second, and that is an issue related to economic and community development. Community development, building housing, which provides property taxes, which provides a lot of things, a base of consumers, let's put it that way. And then obviously economic development, which is businesses, which provide sales tax, property tax, TOT revenues, all kinds of things. These are the top 2 priorities the city has, and they're kind of bumping heads at this point in time. So we want to, 1, explain the city's position related to the wastewater treatment plant. 2, have a discussion of what does that mean and what are the options of what we do if we want to pursue a building moratorium. And then come up with council recommendations. The 4 people you'll be addressing things to is going to be Jamie, and she'll be talking about the pros of a moratorium, obviously, because she's the wastewater treatment plant person. Paul is the economic development person. A moratorium on building does not help him at all, and it doesn't help the people that he serves. But we know where the priorities are. Jennifer, we're talking about the risks and the timelines of how do we do this, and what exactly are we going to do, and then I'll try to help out whenever I can. So I think we start off by basically turning it over to Jamie. Jamie, can you go a little bit deeper into the building moratorium potential and what that'll do for the wastewater treatment plant?
Yes, I will. Thank you, Paul. Mayor White, council, and members of the public. I'm going to go ahead and dive into the staff report that we've drafted. It is a little bit long, but it gives some of the context, and then we'll, like Paul said, we'll dive in deeper with lots of questions, comments, things like that. I would like to address before I start that we did receive a comment via email, except it was past the deadline of noon yesterday. But we are going to pass it out to council. Just note that it was received yesterday at 5:46 p.m. So it will not be read, but it will be on the record that it was received and that you have received it. The purpose of this discussion is to evaluate the pros and cons of implementing a building moratorium in the city of Greenfield due to capacity constraints at the Greenfield wastewater treatment plant. It also addresses negative impacts of such a moratorium, particularly in relation to the state of California's regional housing need allocation mandates and potential effects on economic development. A little bit of background, the City of Greenfield wastewater plant located on Walnut Avenue currently operates at approximately 1.2 million gallons per day with a permitted capacity of 1.2 million gallons per day. The facility has approval to expand to 2 million gallons a day, but current infrastructure and operational constraints limit its ability to accommodate projected development and growth. The city's wastewater system serves residential, commercial, and light industrial users in Greenfield. The wastewater treatment plant is regulated by the Central Coast Regional Water Quality Control Board under waste discharge requirements. Sorry, there's a typo there. Or on the order number R3 2024-0067. Recent growth in Greenfield, driven by its location in the Salinas Valley and increasing demand for housing and commercial development, has raised concerns about the wastewater treatment plant's ability to handle future wastewater flows. The state's RENA mandates require Greenfield to plan for 1,090 housing units in the 2023 to 2031 cycle to meet regional housing needs, particularly for low to moderate income households. A building moratorium is being considered as a potential measure to manage wastewater capacity until improvements are completed. But such a decision carries significant implications. So pros of a building moratorium: protection of public health and environment, strategic goal number one. A moratorium would prevent overloading the wastewater treatment plant, reducing the risk of discharging treated wastewater to areas other than authorized disposal areas for the city's waste discharge permit. Unauthorized discharge or overflow of treated wastewater could lead to environmental contamination and violations of the waste discharge permit and potentially significant financial impacts to the city. Ensuring compliance with water quality standards protects local groundwater resources, critical in the Salinas Valley where agriculture relies heavily on sustainable water management. Preservation of wastewater treatment plant infrastructure. Limiting new connections would reduce strain on aging infrastructure, extending the operational life of existing systems until upgrades are implemented. The proposed wastewater treatment plant improvement project includes a new membrane bioreactor treatment system and a recycled water pump station for distribution of recycled water to nearby agricultural farming operations. The new wastewater treatment plant will be able to handle future wastewater flows. Limiting new connections will prevent costly emergency repairs and potential notice of violations and/or fines from regulatory agencies like the Central Coast Regional Water Quality Control Board. Also, time for strategic planning. A moratorium provides time to complete the wastewater treatment plant improvement project, which aims to improve the treatment, increase the capacity, and reduce reliance on groundwater disposal through enhanced recycled water production. It allows the city to align infrastructure upgrades with long-term growth plans, ensuring sustainable development that meets regulatory and community needs. And equitable resource management. Temporarily halting development ensures existing residents and businesses are not disproportionately impacted by capacity-related service disruptions, such as an illicit discharge or overflow of sewage. Do you want me to read that cons for you? Okay. Just seeing if you wanted to say it. So there's also cons of a building moratorium. Conflict with RENA mandates. A moratorium would hinder Greenfield's ability to meet RENA obligation of 1,090 housing units by 2031. Failure to comply could result in state penalties, including loss of federal or legal action from housing advocacy groups. The California Department of Housing and Community Development, otherwise known as HCD, closely monitors RENA compliance, and a moratorium could be seen as a barrier to addressing housing strategies. Delays in housing development disproportionately affect low and moderate income households, exacerbating affordability issues in Monterey County. where median prices are among the highest in California. Economic development impacts. Halting new construction stifles economic growth by limiting opportunities for commercial and industrial development. Greenfield's strategic location in the Salinas Valley makes it attractive for agribusiness and related industries, but a moratorium could defer investment and job creation. Local businesses, such as construction firms and suppliers, would face revenue losses, potentially leading to layoffs and reduced economic activity. Community and developer backlash. A moratorium could lead to frustration among developers and with pending projects, potentially resulting in legal challenges or strained relations with the city. Community members awaiting housing or commercial projects may perceive the city as obstructing progress. Public perception of stalled growth could harm Greenfield's reputation in a business-friendly community, deterring future investment. There's also potential revenue loss. Reduced development activity would decrease permit fees, impact fees, property taxes, and other revenue streams tied to new construction. This could strain the city's budget, particularly for funding other infrastructure projects. Delays in development may also reduce future sales tax revenue from new commercial establishments, impacting long-term fiscal health. Negative impacts on a moratorium in relation to RHNA and economic development. The RHNA compliance, again, RHNA mandates require Greenfield to facilitate housing development across income levels with focus on affordable units. A moratorium would delay or prevent the construction of these units, risking non-compliance with state law. HCD could impose sanctions, such as withholding community development block grants or transportation funding, which are critical to infrastructure projects. Failure to meet RHNA goals could also trigger lawsuits from housing advocates, as seen in other California cities, increasing legal costs and public scrutiny. Economic development setbacks. Greenfield's economy relies on growth in agriculture, light industry, and residential development. A moratorium could discourage developers from pursuing projects, pushing investments to neighboring cities like Salinas or King City. The wastewater treatment plant's current capacity constraints limit the city's ability to attract large-scale commercial or industrial projects, which often require significant wastewater processing. A moratorium could delay job creation, particularly, again, in construction and related sectors, impacting local employment rates and economic vitality. Long-term growth constraints. Prolonged delays in addressing wastewater treatment plant capacity could create a backlog of development projects, slowing Greenfield's growth trajectory and limiting its ability to compete in the regional economy. The perception of infrastructure limitations may deter businesses seeking reliable utilities, further hampering economic diversification. So there are alternatives for council consideration.
I think maybe that's a good
Stopping point for now.
Yeah, for now, good stopping point for now. And I think, I had mentioned at the very beginning, everything's interconnected. And so it's an aging infrastructure. It's been around for a long time. It hasn't been kept up, I guess, the way, or kind of its time has come and it's still here, but it's falling apart. We've had a lot of development in the last 20, 25 years, specifically housing, and done a great job on our RHNA numbers, but there's a cost to that. It's interconnected. We've got a lot of pressure on our infrastructure to stay together while we're burdening it more and more. So I think want to entertain some questions from either the council or the public. We do have some opportunities. I mean, we have some recommended courses of actions and potential timelines, but we'd like to make sure everybody's clear on what we're talking about.
We're gonna go public first, you think, or, council?
If there are clarifying, if there are clarifying questions about anything we've said, let's go to council first, and then we'll get input, and then
All right, anybody have any clarifying questions?
A lot of questions.
A lot of hard stuff to hear here, so. I think we'll go ahead and open it up to public comments on this item.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I think that there's a little bit of overemphasis, I guess is the way you say it, pertaining to the RENA numbers. RENA numbers are regional allocations that are a state mandated process through the COGS. So the COGS have a lot of authority and process. So you're putting a lot of pressure. Greenfield is in the City Council, Mayor. You're putting a lot of emphasis of that process on yourselves. And I think you may need to step back from that a bit. Looking at just our area, looking at Gonzales and Soledad and King City, they don't match what Greenfield has done recently as far as affordable housing and meeting those RENA numbers. Remember, RENA is regional. Everybody says RENA, but it's regional numbers that are, it's a state mandated process for housing. That's number one. Number two is I would put more focus or emphasis on the economic development impacts, I think. And then third, just to get to the point here, I think there's a typo on it. It says 3, but the
Yeah,
interim
there
capacity management plan, the ICMP, I would go with that. That's a definite yes for me. On the full moratorium, building moratorium, it's a no. You got a lot of people out in the community already know about this. So I'm just giving you a little heads up on that. But I think that this needs to be worked out. And remember, don't put so much pressure on yourself because it's no big secret. You can go into some of these other neighboring cities and they don't even match, not even 5% of what Greenfield's done in the last 25 years. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Okay, Ernest Gallardo, 212 San Antonio Drive. When my wife and I moved into Greenfield, that was 56 years ago. Okay, we had one school. We had an all-volunteer fire department. Whenever there was a fire in town, that siren over the old post office would go off and you see cars scurrying in every direction. Our police department had a handful of officers. Okay. I've been a proponent of low-income, moderate-income homes here in Greenfield for years. But as they start to develop, other problems come with it. I've discussed this previously at our planning commission meeting. We've outgrown our infrastructure. It's that simple. People don't plan to fail, they just fail to plan. I mean, as I ride through town, you guys have all seen me on my bicycle going through town one time or another. I see numerous water leaks coming up from the street. What does that mean? That means our underground water lines are breaking. I mean, they're so old. Some of our streets are just filled with holes every direction. And I give credit to the city because they've done something about some of the streets, but not all of the streets. Soledad went through this years ago. They had the same problem. They just completely stopped building. Okay, so let's go on the premise that you guys do decide to do that. What's going to happen to the people who've already gotten their permits? What's going to happen to the people who've started construction? Are they going to be let to finish their projects, or are they just going to stop completely? You know, it's unfortunate that we come to this, but it's like I said, we don't fail to plan, we just plan to fail. No, I said that wrong, didn't I? My bad. But anyways, that's where we're at. That's where we're at right now. I mean, our sewage system is at its max. I had spoken at one of our meetings, at planning commission meetings, that perhaps instead of demolishing the old one when the new one is completed, just rebuild that one also. Have it in place in case something happens. So you don't have to be worried. It's like, uh-oh, we should have done this, we should have done that. You're one step ahead of it. So, you know, stopping building, yeah, that's gonna solve part of the problem, but not all of it. So it's in your hands. You've been elected to do what's best for the community, and we trust you to do that. All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? I do see one hand raised.
Adam?
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and city staff. My name is Adam Pinteritz. I'm the Government and Community Affairs Director for the Monterey County.
Could you repeat that, Adam, please?
My name is Adam Pinteritz. I'm the Government and Community Affairs Director for the Monterey County Association of Realtors. And it goes without saying that we would prefer there not be a building moratorium for the reasons regarding housing and economic development that have been mentioned. But we also understand that you're put in a difficult position in terms of health and safety considerations. And so I don't envy the decision you have to make on this. If at all possible, ICMP option. If you must pursue a building moratorium, then we hope that you will elect to make it as short as possible, knowing that if you need to extend it, you have that option. But builders, developers, people who have projects in mind, they really need to be able to plan around it. And so to just have a very long or indefinite moratorium does not help them make those decisions. So I would And maybe we can even explore collaborative solutions like a recommended advisory to all new homebuyers in Greenfield. Ultimately, I think this is a sign of Greenfield being a victim of its own success. You've built so much housing recently. That's wonderful. And it's just unfortunate that the new wastewater treatment plant won't be ready in time to continue your growth. But I think we can overcome that together. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Any other comments? If not, I'll bring it back to council and to staff. Questions from staff? Council? I just had a few questions as far as some of the, I think, I don't know, Jennifer, were you gonna answer some of the questions regarding the legal side of it? Permits, existing permits and that kind of thing, or?
Yeah, I can give a little overview if you'd like,
Right.
and then let me know if there's anything else you'd like to know.
Okay.
So I guess at a high level, it's important to know that cities do have the ability to establish building moratoriums, especially in the case of a threat to public health and safety. And so they do, however, have to be carefully crafted to ensure that they're only for as long as necessary to cure whatever the issue is. And then with respect to housing, there's an additional requirement that the ordinance that's adopted if you establish a building moratorium be approved by HCD. So that's kind of high level. With respect to timing, Commissioner Gallardo's comments about who would be subject to it, there is some flexibility in how you draft or redraft on your behalf the ordinance, but it's important to know that at a certain point, a developer does have vested rights in the project that they are developing. And case law tells us that that's when they've made a substantial investment, and substantial investment is typically defined by having obtained a building permit. So up until the point where an actual building permit is issued, there is no, according to the law, vested right to build. So you could potentially say anybody who's not yet obtained a building permit would not be allowed to get a building permit. Some other things you might consider that we can discuss or talk through are those developers who have some sort of an entitlement. So they've said that they've received an entitlement from, say, the planning commission to build their project, but they haven't yet obtained their building permits. Those entitlements expire. And so you could consider giving those entitlements an automatic extension so that they wouldn't have to worry that because they can't get a building permit, their entitlement's going to expire.
Does that go along with like maps and things like that too?
We as a group here did discuss maps, and actually maps won't really be impacted because a tentative map has an expiration date, but to go from tentative map to final map, there's no reason why that approval shouldn't occur because there's no impact to the sewer system.
Okay.
So it's not until after you get your final map and then you start building on the subdivision that the impacts to the sewer system would occur. So maps should be able to continue.
So they can go ahead and proceed to the final map stage.
Yeah, it would be then when and then another consideration for council would be, well, should the city continue to accept applications, process applications, so that when the building moratorium, should it be adopted, is lifted, there are already projects in the pipeline. And so, the idea would be that people can continue to apply, staff can continue to approve, planning commission could continue to approve. Those projects would be ready to go when the time came, but there would be just basically a halt on that final step of getting the building permit.
I just wanted to make a couple comments. Just for the public, I think we all know this because we've been involved in it, but we have a plan that has been planned for several years, been in the works for several years. We had a plan that was near ready to be built, and we're told that we would be getting full grant money for it. And then last year we were told there was not funds available for that. So we have been working with the state water board trying to get funding. And even as of last month, the city manager and I went and talked before the state water board, trying to encourage funding for our project. It's just something unfortunate that the economy has gone south and the money doesn't seem to be available. But we're hoping that they can see their way to actually fund as much as possible for us. We are near ready, shovel ready plan, right?
Yeah, as Jamie mentioned, we have plans that are 90% complete. It's deemed shovel ready, which means we could within 60 days.
Yes, go out to bid.
Yeah, go out to bid for construction
Mhm.
within 60 days. That's pretty ready.
Now, as far as the RENA numbers are concerned, the RENA numbers are over a period of time, correct?
Yes, up to
And we're
30,
pretty
31.
far- I mean, we just started a little over a year ago on a new round, correct?
That's correct.
And we've already met a big part of our goal on that.
Right, with the two developments that are online, Greenfield Commons and Walnut Terrace Place, whatever it is. Yeah, place, yeah, that's in excess of 250, yeah, 200
Not
units.
including all the ADUs and all the rest of this.
Not including ADUs, right. Yeah, and starts this year, or started last year, so we have until 2031 for cycle 6. So the points made about RENA are good points that Mr. Huerta made. We need to consider, because we don't know how long this might be. We hope it's a shorter period, and if it is, great, but we need to bring up all the potential negative impacts.
Right. I think that's all I have at the moment. But I just.
Oh, just one thing I wanted to do, I think that Jennifer touched on it, but just I think a direct answer to Mr. Gallardo about the projects that are already in construction, since they've already been given a building permit, they just keep going. They would be not affected by the moratorium.
Can I ask Jamie, can you talk a little bit about the fines that we've already incurred for being out of compliance and issues that happen? Can you speak to that a little?
Yes, so clear back in, I want to say May of 2018, the city had a spill that went on the east of the wastewater treatment plant where our current emergency spray fields are. We were issued a notice of violation and also subsequent fines. So from the water board, back in 2018, our fine was just over $170,000. Subsequently, there was also an advocacy group that the city ended up settling with. And we paid fines, and I don't recall the total. But I want to say it was upwards of over a few years, probably around $50,000. And that's also that we agreed to clean and video all of our sewer mains that are more than 10 years old. So we started that a couple years ago. You'll see crews out there starting this week to do what we're calling the last year of it. So we'll be completing that. So that expense too, you know, you're talking $800,000 or better. Those results are going to turn into projects. With that agreement, we have, depending on the grading of the sewer lines and manholes, we may have to do something within a year or plan within a year. And so it's going to change our whole capital projects. So we're waiting on that data. And then we have to report back to them as well. So it's multifaceted. It's not just with the water board. There's many other fingers, I guess, just kind of watching. I don't know the right term. You know, it's multifaceted. So we have had some minor spills. Just back in October, we had a spill, a small one that went onto private property. And we've also, in the last month or so, had internal levee breaches. So we had a levee fail, one pond flow into the other, equalize, and then flow over another internal levee. So it's very concerning. It's very scary. We have with this wind that's going on in the afternoons, it's unreal out there, you know, 30, 35 miles an hour. And we're getting wave action in the basins. That wave action is hitting the levees and eroding the levees. So it's very multifaceted. And we don't want to entertain another spill. Yes. And having a second spill with a violation could increase the fines from the water board significantly as well.
One other thing that I think of also, the regional board just this past October, November, reduced our capacity from 1.5 to 1.2, right?
Correct.
Just so the public knows, we made decisions as far as subdivisions and building and development, all based on the fact that we thought we had another 300,000 gallons of capacity. That has changed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the regional board probably is correct in their assessment, but it did change the landscape and change the ground where we were walking on. So I think the public also needs to know that this kind of is something relatively new
that is correct.
We're having to deal with.
Yes, and so the water board lowered our daily average to 1.2, basically on past data, but also multiple visits to the location and observations that in fact the treatment plant, the secondary treatment by the RIBs and the RIBs themselves are not functioning properly. They've seen their useful life. And so that's where that number came from. I'd also like to address that, you know, this isn't like we're just jumping in and saying, oh my gosh, we need a new wastewater plant. It's the conversations started back in 2017. In 2019, the city contracted to have all of their master plans redone and completed, really kind of seeing the future, right? Those were completed in 2020 and 2021. In November of 2022, we awarded the design contract to Hydroscience. So that's actually just moving right along pretty fast. And then here we are at 90% plans back in October, November of 24. And we're kind of with this, the funding changes with the state is kind of where we're at the standstill. Our application is complete for grant and loan funding. And they've asked us to, since there's loans involved now, we have to redo our wastewater rate study and analyze our rates to make sure that we can actually pay back the loans. And so we're in process of that right now.
This is a new rate study. We did do one before, correct?
We just did one a couple years ago.
Yeah, we did one a couple of years ago. We did increase rates, but now because the numbers that are on the table, potentially, if the water board adopts their intended use plan or their IUP, which will be in August, so it'll be next month. Our grant is potentially $75 million. And the total construction cost, we believe, will be around 110 million. Whatever, 75 plus 36, the 36 million we would have to borrow from the state. The water rate increase that we'll be looking at will be sufficient enough to cover the debt service. So what you'll be looking at when you get that water rate study, and it'll go to the voters in a Prop 218 vote, we'll be looking at an amount that is enough to make the payments, annual payments on a $36 million loan. But that the total cost of this new plant will be around $110 million.
Now, we should be hearing from the state as far as funding, what, in August? Is that correct?
Well, August, I believe they make their determination as to whether they're going to adopt their intended use plan, which is the financing mechanisms for everybody that's asking for money from the water board. Then they will go through the applications and see. I'm not exactly sure when they would get back to us.
Yeah, and that's why, Mayor, we're trying to fast track this new wastewater rate study to hopefully have it complete and through the 218 process by the end of September. That would be very conservative, but we're trying to move very fast on that. I'd also like to point out, it's not just to cover debt services, but also the future replacement of parts and the MBR trains over time. Everything has a useful life. And so we're out planning for that so that we don't run into issues.
Keep us operational.
Yes, we want to be operational and we want to keep the preventative maintenance on the new plant in a cycle so that we don't end up in situations like this again.
Okay.
I think it's really, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Is there going to be open comments, public comments for the financing of the WWTP? Because I wanted to make, I don't know if you open that up for, or because I know you're discussing it now, so I was thinking, I didn't want it to be, I didn't want to be out of order.
I don't think so. We don't know. There are a variety of options that the state water board has not yet decided what they're going to be doing in their intended use plan, so it'd be premature. I know that the rate study is looking at everything that's available from fiscal year 24-25 through what they could do in the 25-26. So there are going to be multiple, when we get the rate study, it'll have a number of scenarios. Mm-hmm. And actually, that's probably the best time to be talking about the financing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say that I think it's important for the community to know that the city manager and staff have been helping us along this whole time. It was probably over a year ago that Mayor and I went the first time when we were told about the situation. And so we do have one-on-one meetings with city manager, and it's always a discussion about the wastewater treatment plant. So I just want the community to know that, we are aware, we are paying attention, and I think all council understands the severity of the problems that we have right now.
I'd like to thank everyone for all this work. If people aren't visiting
these meetings, reading updates of what's going on, it could appear that all of a sudden our wastewater plant is not working, like it happened today. But as I've been educated in the last few months, this is not something new, nor is it something that we have ignored or people have looked away. The data shows that we recognized it way back in 2017, 7 years ago, 8 years ago. There is a plan. There are people looking at this. It does take expert eyes. If I had gone out to the wastewater plant on my own, I would not know what I'm looking at. And I would say the majority of our residents would say the same thing. I was asking, are we using that? What is that for? And what is this? And is that's all we have? And we need to fix that building where our people are working every day. If I may say so myself, I want a nice working environment for them as well. There are so many issues, but when I ask the question, yes, we have been looking at this. Yes, there was a plan. Yes, we thought we had this. Yes, we built these houses and everything that's been asked of our city. We are there. We are doing it. At the same time, yes, we do need to look and see, but can we continue doing what we're doing? And the picture changes with funding. I understand there was a plan. I understand we thought we were going to have basically get money covered. And back then it wasn't going to cost what it's costing today. So the longer we wait to fix this, we're like at about 110 million. It was 60 million. So we're 50 million more in just a matter of a couple years. And with the way things are happening with supply, demand, and costs, 110 million may not be there in 2 or 3 months from now. So it is that we are acting. And I just want the public to know that people have been looking at the problem. It's not something new. There are experts looking into this and putting it to work. And we are going to do the best. That's why I ran for council, as to what is the best for the future of Greenfield. And I made the analogy earlier, what's the point in buying a brand new, beautiful truck if your tires don't run? What's the point of, someone else told me, well, what's the point of building a beautiful mansion if you can't flush a toilet? It all has to work together. So yes, we want Greenfield to grow. I do too. But I think I'm in the majority when we say, but we want our toilets to flush in the morning and afternoon and at night. So just for the public who have been asking, did this happen all of a sudden? No. We've known and we're working on it. And we're at a critical point though. We can't just say, well, wait next month. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from council? Go ahead.
I know that this is just for staff direction and reading also the letter that came in today and the possible long-term effects that a long-term moratorium would have on our economy, not just, 6 months, but long-term. And, as is part of the report and our relationships with builders. And I know this is a difficult decision for all of us because of that. And so I would like to propose that the staff direction be to put these other initiatives into effect, these other suggestions, and to have the option where city attorney mentioned that anything in progress continues, that all of those provisions, that would be how I would feel most comfortable moving forward, and the shortest possible amount of time, with obviously having the option to relook at it, but I think that we owe it to our residents to do everything that we can to have the shortest moratorium possible and
Lessen the impact
explore
as much as possible.
all other options for now. Seeing the treatment plant, like we've mentioned ad nauseum tonight, does give you a very good understanding of how crucial, how this is an urgent issue, and that helped me understand how important this issue is and how badly we really need to address it. So yeah, I know this is very difficult for all of us, but that would be what I would propose as a motion.
I just want to clarify, so, well, first there's no vote tonight, it'll just be direction by consensus, but to clarify your comment, anything in progress continues. So there's a lot of different stages of progress, and where the law would say that you have to allow them to continue is if they have a building permit. Anything before building permit, so, you have an entitlement, meaning like a design review or a conditional use permit, those would, when you say allow those in progress to continue, do you mean those as well, or just those that have a building permit?
I think we have to go just with the building permit. I think that's.
I think what you
Yes.
explained in the legal definitions that you sent us where, the phasing too, if you can speak to that for public transparency about if there's a building permit that's issued or, something that is phased, then
Yeah.
that only covers the phase for which it's already been issued and.
Right, so if there's a project that is phased, so however many multiple phases, so if they have received a building permit for a particular phase, they're not vested in the second or third or however many phases. So if they've got the building permit for the one phase, they can build that, but there's no guarantee that they'll be issued the second phase. So if you're wanting anything in progress to mean just those with the building permit, that would mean a second or third phase of a entitled project wouldn't be issued a building permit until the building moratorium is lifted.
Can staff maybe go over what the recommendation of staff is? I think that would probably be appropriate at this point.
I think so.
Can I just ask a question to Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez and City Attorney Thompson? Was saying as long as it's an issued building permit, but there's a building moratorium on anything in the pipeline, are you directing us to make that for sewer capacity only, sewer issues? Like if somebody needed to re-roof their home, they could still get a permit. It has nothing to do with the wastewater. I think there needs to be maybe some designations on
Some clarification on that.
on permits that have nothing to do with sewer, or, if you're replacing your water heater, or you're gonna do some stucco work, things, just some basic things like that.
Yes,
Maybe
and
wouldn't be
thank you
affected.
for
Yeah.
reminding me.
Yeah.
We had a conversation about some of those exceptions and things that don't impact sewage should continue. If a homeowner wants to make an improvement, things like that wouldn't be impacted. Yes, that would be what I would request.
Remodel the bathroom is fine. It's just, you can't necessarily add a bathroom.
Yeah.
Right.
So can we get maybe some clarification on the recommendation from staff?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that from our conversations that we've had, the recommendation is that the city council authorize a building moratorium, which would be adopted by ordinance. And that building moratorium would apply to any project that impacts the sewer system, but does not yet have a building permit. And then we haven't formulated a recommendation for how long the moratorium would last, except that perhaps, and it would be, revisited every 6 months or so, or a year, whatever council desires, as those interim measures are implemented to see whether or not they have any impact.
I would think 6 months would probably be all right. We'll know some more about funding at that point. We'll know some more additional information, so.
Yeah.
I would think.
I agree. I do have a specific question about the letter that we received, because this person does not have a building permit yet, correct? But they mentioned they've been working with the city for 18 months. And so this would be something that would then be prohibited moving forward during the moratorium.
Right, I don't want to talk too specifically about a specific project,
Yeah.
but this one is one that is in the tentative map phase. So they have a tentative map. They don't yet have a final map, meaning there are not even legal parcels. The parcel is not divided into smaller legal parcels, and so they don't even have an entitlement. So they have a tentative map, which they would be under what we're discussing would be permitted to finish and get a final map. And then we haven't discussed this yet, but if council wants staff to continue accepting applications, they could submit their entitlement application, whatever that might be for this particular type of project, that could get approved. They just wouldn't be able to get their building permit. So they could continue through the pipeline and making progress up to a certain point. And the same would be true for any declaration.
If I could just clarify, so but that would happen after an ordinance
Right.
was enacted.
Yeah, and I don't know that I did talk about that process.
The timeline on it.
Yeah, so to adopt an ordinance, it does require 2 meetings. There's an introduction of the ordinance at 1 meeting, which we think could be as soon as the next meeting, the next July 22nd. And then it requires an adoption meeting, so that would be the following meeting, perhaps. And then it would have to go to HCD for approval. And then the ordinance goes into effect 30 days after adoption. So we could potentially, if we draft an ordinance, it's introduced on the 22nd, send it to HCD for approval. City council adopts the ordinance at a subsequent meeting, and then 30 days after that, it would go into effect. So there is a lag for all of those things to occur. The reason that the resolution to cancel the August meetings was pulled off of the consent agenda was to give council the flexibility to, if they wanted to make this happen faster, to have the second meeting to adopt the ordinance in August, rather than skipping August and doing it in September.
Sure.
So we're looking at 60 to 90 days probably.
Yeah, and I have no sense of how long it takes HCD to approve.
Respond.
I've reached out to them and haven't heard back, which is not a good sign.
60
but-
to 90 days.
Yeah, I'll triple.
It's all tentative at this point.
Right.
So meanwhile, those other measures though, right, the other recommendations, placing water conservation measures into effect, escalating fog, enforcing unauthorized connections, all of that could go into effect after tonight, right? It doesn't require public hearing and everything else that this is gonna require.
Right, and those things don't even really require council action. They're things, Jamie can speak more to this, but things I think that they're already beginning.
Yeah, there are some on the we don't have an actual interim capacity management plan. So council could direct staff to draft one so that we have an actual plan in place. But it would be, looking at the city's needs, going into a water conservation program to help alleviate flows on the wastewater treatment plant, escalate some of the fog program. There aren't specific dates for compliance, timelines, kind of pushing that forward. And then, proactive enforcement of unauthorized connections, like i.e. backyard motorhomes that are possibly connected into the residential sewer. Those are illicit, and they impact that as well. Possibly doing adopting a flow offset program like low flow retrofit fixtures, things like that, looking into getting those possibly into effect. I know in the past, I believe we had something like that, anything to reduce the flow into the land. So typically when you hear about like water conservation, you think about, oh, don't water your lawn. This is not the opposite. This is inside your home. Water conservation, shorter.
It goes down the drain.
Yeah, anything that goes down the drain, shorter showers, turn the
Laundry.
faucet off when you brush your teeth, make sure you have a full load of laundry. Yeah, things of that nature. Don't let the sink run when you're washing the dishes, and just a lot of basics, and it can add up. And so that would be a good measure also if you want to go, if you want to direct staff to go into a golden moratorium and check in 6 months. We've got that program going. That could also help lower the impacts on a slower rate.
Do you need any more direction, or are you good?
No, so we actually, so we actually pulled the item of recessing in August. So that's, you won't be making that decision. Are you thinking then, well, we can put it on the 22nd if you still want to do it? Or are you more inclined to try to make this happen faster and actually have at least one meeting in August? If you had a meeting on August 12th, which would be the first one, and all the stars line up correctly with HCD and all, yeah, maybe we could, the ordinance goes into effect 30 days after it's approved by council, which would mean September 12th would be the effective January.
I personally think we try to move it as quickly as possible, but we're up against a
Yes.
Did you say
capacity problem. But I mean, and we don't know how long HCD is gonna take anyway. I mean, it might be.
Longer.
So just so everybody knows, I won't be here on August 12th, so I'll be out of state. I did have a question. Somebody asked me from my district. They had planned on doing adding a room. That was what they want to do, but it wasn't gonna have a bathroom, so they won't be affected, right? They can still, or do they?
I'm not sure, because that adds people, which adds capacity, so I think that's more of a legal.
Well, I think, yeah, and also an engineering question where we'll need to identify a particular published metric to tie to. So I understand that there's metrics. So like, for example, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home might produce a certain, I'm just looking at you to make sure I'm not saying anything wrong, but would produce like a particular amount of wastewater. So if you add a bedroom, or a bathroom, that may change that metric.
Yeah, so
we
our,
can research that a little bit more to be sure, and let
Yeah.
Jamie can.
our sewer collections system master plan actually has some metrics in it, which that was developed only a few years ago. For a residential home, the household density per capita that we average at is 4.8 people per home.
So it's not by bedroom or
No,
bathroom.
no, it's just 4.8 people, as long as that's a single family residence. It changes, if you're in multifamily, apartment complexes, things like that.
4.8.
But it's typically 4.8.
Right, are we clear enough? Or you need more direction?
I think so. What about you two?
So we want sorry, number 3. Interim capacity management plan, I'm suggesting.
Yes.
I think we do, yeah.
Yes.
I would
Right.
add the bottom, under the bullet points, engaging stakeholders. I think the more that our public is informed about exactly what the issue is and why these decisions are needing to be made, they'll be more invested in water saving measures.
And to that end, we produced the little video of the mayor and I talking in Sacramento. And I think this week, we're starting to shoot, I don't know if you know this already, Jamie, a video at the wastewater treatment plant, going back into some of the history, some of the things that you saw on your tours. It'll be in a video. Jamie will be answering questions. Yeah, sorry, that was a communication issue then.
No,
You
no,
don't know about it
I
yet?
knew that would be happening. I just didn't know when.
Yeah, and then what we'd like to do is we'd like to, as the summer goes on and as the IUP gets closer and closer to hopefully being approved by the State Water Board, we're gonna go back in more history and discuss the things that we talked about today, about what we've already done and how long a process this has been. So that when we get to the point where we're looking at a rate increase, we've got several videos out there talking about, hey, this is the situation. This is kind of why we're here. It's really just old infrastructure and it needs to be replaced, especially as we're growing. And so, yes, we did just have a rate increase in a study done, I think 2 years ago. We've got another one now because now we're going to have a big debt at the wastewater treatment plant. But hey, we're going to be able to flush the toilet. So what's that worth?
But the big debt because funding didn't go through the way it was.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we could be in construction right now.
Right.
Yes.
We could be working on it.
Yeah.
So I have a question then. If we're producing videos to get the public information out we have water bills that go out every month, do we not?
We do.
And they're are a large portion of population that may not be looking at videos. Could we include something because it's about their bill and it's about what could happen, and it is directly, they're opening it, and if there may be the little QR code where they can, you know, click on it to see the video, that would, increase that, but
Yeah.
maybe something include in the water bill?
Yes.
And I just want to say before we move to the next item, for developers out there, we are not taking this lightly. This is a tough decision because our backs and kind of against the wall, so know that. And we'll try to keep it as short as we can, but.
Yes.
Right?
Thank you.
Okay,
I think we're good.
all right,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you very much. All right, K2, adopt a resolution, City Council, City of Greenfield accepting the California Highway Patrol Cannabis Tax Fund Grant Program funds in the amount of $89,566 and approve $89,566 budget appropriations for the grant. Staff report, please.
Evening, Mayor, City Council members. So the Greenfield Police Department recently was awarded $89,000 from the cannabis grant through the California Highway Patrol. This is our second year receiving this grant. This is for fiscal year 25 and 26. And what this grant covers is training for officers such as drug enforcement training, DUI checkpoint management training. It also covers equipment such as lights for DUI checkpoints, traffic vests, DUI supplies, and it also covers the big one, the large majority of the grant covers a lot of overtime for DUI checkpoints, DUI saturations throughout the year. So I would like the City Council to review it. There's more information on the staff report. It's more detailed. But we would like the city to adopt this grant for us to use.
Right.
We'll take
Very
any
good.
questions, comments.
Open it up for public comments on K2. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council for questions. Thank you for the staff report. It was, appreciate the budget in there and kind of where everything is going, so.
Yes.
I'll entertain a motion on this item. Move to approve. Need a second?
I second that.
Second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
All right, K3, adopt a resolution of the City Council, City of Greenfield, extending a professional services agreement to GMC Consulting for utility infrastructure and public works consulting, and for an additional amount not to exceed 25,000. Staff report, please.
Sorry. This
You don't feel
item
like
is
you're
a renewal, I don't know. It's a renewal of Curtis Weeks for C&G Consulting's contract for consulting on the wastewater treatment plant. And we'd like it for an amount not to exceed $25,000. We expect this to run through the end of the end of the calendar year, December 31st. And it has typically, I mean, this last few months, we've used them a lot. We don't expect that hopefully we'll still need to use him, but we're not going to be using him nearly as much as we've been going. He went up with us to Sacramento. He's on many phone calls related to the design of the new plant. So we just like to extend his contract to December 31st, not to exceed 25,000, and it's already in the budget.
Any public comments on this? Just for your information, he, like Paul said, he is a consultant on the wastewater treatment plant and also water items. He went with us on both trips to Sacramento. And yeah, Paul has him on speed dial for anything to do with the wastewater treatment plant. So he's a wealth of knowledge, has a extensive background in water and in wastewater.
Move to approve.
Need a second?
I second that.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, Welcome back. All right, we'll adjourn to closed session.
City Council will meet in closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6, conference with labor negotiators, the agency designated representative is City Manager Paul Wood, and the employee organizations are Service Employees International Union Local 521 and International Union of Operating Engineers Local Number 3.
And we'll open this up, closed session up to public comments. Seeing none, we'll move to closed session. Thank you. There is nothing to report from closed session. City attorney report,
I have nothing to report.
city manager,
Nothing more to report.
right? Difficult meeting. Thank you guys for all the hard work and tough decisions, but
Tough position.
meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.